Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. 'Tis the season, so let's talk about my top picks for the holidays. These fragrances smell like Christmas to me, and even though I wear them year round, I really like to reach for them in December in particular. One of these fragrances I wear almost every year on Christmas Eve, so it's my own special tradition. The first fragrance is a no-brainer. It's Dolce Vita from Dior, and it truly smells like Christmas. It's a creamy, fruity, spicy delight of a fragrance. You get the typical 90s style peach note, you get the cinnamon, the vanilla, some sandalwood and rosewood. It's a distinctly woody fragrance, and even though there's quite a lot of peach and vanilla, this is by no means a gourmand fragrance. It's like a decadent old school dessert, but make it light and effervescent at the same time. Dolce Vita smells of happy times. It's a fragrance full of joy and party spirit. The bottle is shaped like a little moon or maybe a little ball of sunshine with spots all over it. I really love the aesthetic and the vibe that this fragrance evokes. It's my number one holiday party scent. It makes me happy and nostalgic every time I smell it. It's simply a delightful fragrance. My bottle is actually the vintage version from the mid-90s. I did acquire it last year. I had one before that. I highly recommend sourcing out a vintage bottle if you want to experience Dolce Vita in its full beauty. Newer versions are fine, but some of them, at least the ones I tried, were really watered down, which was a shame. But Dolce Vita is still a phenomenal fragrance. It flies a bit under the radar, and even Dior counters tend to keep it in the drawer rather than on display, but it's well worth checking out in my opinion. For me, fragrance is art, poetry, and a mood enhancer all in one, and Dolce Vita delivers all three. The bottle is a work of art, the scent tells a story, and it makes you happy, nostalgic, comforted, and that's what it's all about. Perfume helps me escape, helps me daydream, and brings me pleasure. And I believe that during the holiday season, we all need that. Yes, it's the merriest time of the year, but don't forget that many people are also the most lonely right at this time of the year. Fragrance is something that can help you through so many things. It truly does, and as you know, on my channel, you don't get straightforward fragrance reviews. I don't just regurgitate a bunch of notes and accords from Fragrantica. I like to dig a bit deeper and talk about fragrance as art and its evocative power. It's not just about smelling good. Yes, of course, fragrance does brighten our days and nights, and in this case, holiday parties. But Dolce Vita is a fragrance that really resonates with me for some reason. So that's Dolce Vita from Dior, the vintage formulation. The next fragrance that I associate with the holidays, Christmas, December, is none other than Opium from Yves Saint Laurent. This is an old school fragrance. It was launched back in 1977, and for its launch, Monsieur Laurent threw a lavish yacht party. Opium as a fragrance is a rich concoction of resins, spices, and carnation, all simmering in a big cauldron. It was one of the first scents inspired by the Orient, which some might call cultural appropriation, but I call that inspiration. Monsieur Saint Laurent was heavily inspired by China, particularly the opium dens of Shanghai, for example, which was something that seemed scandalous to the Western world at the time. He used this massive appeal for everything Oriental and made a fragrance that evokes mystery, a fragrance so good and addictive that he had to name it Opium. And everything from the ad campaign to the original bottle design, which is very chinoiserie, everything was designed and overseen by him. Opium was an instant success. But let's talk about the fragrance. Opium is first and foremost a myrrh fragrance. And for someone who loves the smell of myrrh, this is a scent that I associate with Christmas. The kind of myrrh used in opium is opoponax, also known as sweet myrrh, but regular myrrh is also used. It's a combination of sweet myrrh and regular myrrh. And myrrh is also an incredibly important historic and biblical symbol. It was mentioned several times in the Bible, and it was also one of the three gifts offered by the three kings or the three wise men to Jesus. So here we have another connection to Christmas. But long before any Bible was written, myrrh was used as a perfume ingredient, dating back several thousand years, and I happen to love its sweet and resinous smell. This bottle of opium is the new 2009 formula, so of course it's not as rich and opulent as the vintage, but I still find it very rich and opulent nonetheless. I bought the smallest bottle because I never overspray this fragrance. I love wearing opium on cold winter days, and I'll definitely be wearing it this holiday season. The next fragrance is another one that so many people call Christmas in a bottle, and that's exactly what it is. Rich smoldering resins, toasted spices, a hint of something aldehydic and aromatic in the opening, some soft, nondescript florals, but most of all, a rich, balsamic cocktail of spices and amber. Yes, this is Initio. It's a typical, warm, classic Oriental that's likely considered dated by most, but it's the fragrance that started this genre of enormous, spicy Orientals that project and last eternally. Initio has an important place in perfume history because it was the first, I want to say, feminist perfume. It was released as a bath oil, and Mrs. Lauder, her objective was to make perfume accessible, available and affordable for the average woman who was maybe just a housewife and never bought fragrance for herself. And Initio was an instant success. It became iconic. Again, this is completely unisex by today's standards. Fragrance knows no gender, as I always say. I've tried men's fragrances that are sweeter than Initio, believe me. The ones I have in mind are Emporio Armani Stronger With You and Yves Saint Laurent Myself. Those two are much sweeter than Initio, in my opinion, and they're also packed with ambroxan, isoe super, and synthetic woods, which sadly don't really work for me. But I adore classic ambery fragrances. I find that they never have this heavy ambroxan in the dry down, which can be found in so many modern, niche, and designer fragrances. The next fragrance that I chose is Boucheron Quatre Iconic. This, unlike the other scents in this video, is a fairly recent release. It came out in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, and it's your typical bubblegummy tuberose fragrance, but it has a twist. They added lots of patchouli, something balsamic, a hint of ginger and pink pepper, which give this a nice spicy nuance. I really enjoy this because it reminds me of the original L'Interdit, as well as L'Interdit Rouge, which I did use up a bottle of. L'Interdit Rouge is also a sweet tuberose scent with the addition of ginger and pimento. The ginger in Quatre Iconic is not as prominent as in L'Interdit Rouge, but I really like the slight touch of spiciness it adds to the scent. Another great Christmas fragrance would be 5 o'clock au gingembre from Serge Lutens. If you're looking for a proper ginger fragrance, I can't really say Quatre Iconic is a ginger fragrance. It does have a hint of ginger, but not enough to make it a ginger scent. But it's still a tuberose, ambery, patchouli, balsamic scent that I really, really love. Is it a masterpiece? Is it groundbreaking? No, not really, but it's a decent new release, and it's one of the few that I actually decided to buy. Next up, we've got Dior Addict in its current formulation, which I think is decent and completely satisfactory for me. It lasts all day, it projects moderately. Addict is a winter classic I associated with the holiday season a lot. The decadent bourbon vanilla is the main note I get in this scent, and it makes me think of holiday treats, baked goods, even though I wouldn't say this is a gourmand fragrance. You get a nice burst of greenness in the opening, some jasmine and orange leaf, and mandarin leaf, sorry. But this fragrance is all about the vanilla. The vanilla in this scent is just delectable. It's hands down one of the best crafted designer vanilla fragrances you can still buy, in my opinion. It's a classic, it's sweet but not too sweet, powdery and comforting, and it smells very classy and sophisticated. Actually, I'd say Dior Addict is a modern classic. Technically, it's more than 20 years old, so it can also be considered vintage. Can you believe it? Dior Addict vintage. I love wearing Addict in the wintertime and especially around Christmas. I think it's a shame not many people talk about it here on YouTube anymore. Back in the early days of YouTube, I remember people describing Addict as smelling like Christmas, and some even decluttered it because it has that green note. I don't mind the very subtle greenness I get in the opening. I think it makes the scent stand out and it makes it unique. So that's Dior Addict from Dior. The next fragrance is a fragrance that I like to wear on Christmas Eve when I have dinner with my family, and I've been wearing Poison on Christmas Eve for at least a couple of years, and I associate it with Christmas. It's a dark, rich and opulent oriental, packed with spices, resins, honey, forest fruits, wild berries, plum, as well as a potent tuberose note, which is the star of the show in this fragrance. Again, it's a very important fragrance in perfume history, one that defined the 1980s. It was so incredibly popular that it's rumoured to have been banned in several restaurants across France and Europe, and it's a scent that's very dear to my heart. I managed to acquire a vintage bottle from the early 90s. Sadly, it came without the cap, but I don't mind that at all. I love the scent. It's absolutely stunning. There's nothing like vintage Poison. I do enjoy the modern formulation as well, but the vintage is really something else. I'm really happy to own the vintage Eau de Toilette. It also used to come as Eau de Cologne and Esprit de Parfum, which was the concentration between EDP and Extrait de Parfum, so between EDP and pure perfume. So that's Poison by Dior. It's such a shame that Dior doesn't advertise this fragrance anymore, because I think they could make a lot of money every holiday season if they promoted the original Poison as a special holiday fragrance. But that's just my opinion, you know. It's a holiday fragrance for me. I associate it with the holidays, with Christmas, and it will forever be in my collection, even though I don't wear it as much as I used to anymore. I've got one more fragrance to share before I end this video. And I chose this one because I'm on a vanilla kick again, to be honest. And I've been enjoying Absolute Aphrodisiac from Initio, which is a sweet and seductive vanilla fragrance with an animalic twist. It's absolutely delicious. I highly recommend it. I keep buying these 8ml decants because I'm not really ready to splurge on a full bottle yet. When you have a lot of fragrances like me and wear a different one every day, you don't really need a big bottle of something that isn't your absolute favorite, right? Before I end this video, I just wanted to announce that I reached 2,000 subscribers, which is something I didn't think would ever happen, but it did happen. So thank you so much for supporting my channel, for commenting, liking my videos. I'm incredibly grateful, and I truly appreciate each and every one of my viewers. Thank you so much. It's the 13th of December when I'm filming this, so I wish everyone a happy holiday season. Merry Christmas if you celebrate, and I'll see you in one of my next videos. Bye.